recent study by the Department of Social Development on gender-based violence has been found to not be child-friendly. It was discovered that most of the children that were interviewed do not even understand the meaning of gender-based violence. Joining us now is Neliswa, Cekiso, who's the Director of Child Protection at the Social Development Department. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Perhaps let's start right at the beginning on how you came as a department to now consult children and get their views on this mission.
Thank you, Mpho, and good morning to you and the viewers. We started the consultations on the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide following the second presidential summit that took place last year, where we felt that, the children's voices need to be heard, as these children were excluded from the beginning in terms of the conceptualization of the NSP on GBVF. So after the presidential summit, the children made proposals that they want a Pillar 7 that would really talk to them as children, because they don't even know this NSP and they were never consulted. And after, as the department, we explained what the NSP is all about, they even confirmed that this NSP, it is still unfriendly, it's not understandable, and it still excludes them because their lived-in experiences as children are not expressly, articulated in this NSP in its current form. We therefore embarked on these provincial consultations, which we have already covered 6 provinces, that is Western Cape, Gauteng, Northwest, Northern Cape, Limpopo, and KZN. And children continued to say that we still want the Pillar 7 that would talk to us as children, because the NSP, it's talking women, it's even excluding the boy child, who is also under tremendous mental health issues. And they feel that even the women that should be advocating for them as children, they are actually the ones that are even abusing them because they are not safe at home. Some of them were even talking about their own sexual abuse at home by their dads. And unfortunately, the mothers are quiet. So these children are currently now in alternative care.
So with the dissatisfaction children are expressing about adults speaking on their behalf, and they're saying that the document is not child-friendly and doesn't even include children and men, as you mentioned. What happens with all these considerations now, with all these voices which have been added, the very important voices within this draft? What processes are going to happen from this point onwards as you conclude and round up the many voices, many opinions from children?
We are actually planning a national consultative session where we are going to validate, consolidate all the provincial findings, compile the report and submit to the presidential committee that is the steering committee for the NSP on GBVF. And with that, we are hoping that they will take children's issues into consideration, and as they review the National Strategic Plan on GBVF, include this Pillar 7 for children, because without that Pillar 7, children will continue feeling excluded, and resources as well not adequately, provided into the children's sector to ensure that all children's needs are addressed, because it's also some of the gaps that we are also identifying within the NSP, that there is unequal distribution of resources when it coming to addressing issues of women and children.
You say you're hoping that the consideration will be made looking at Pillar 7 and some of the concerns also including that the whole thing's written in English and that there's a lot of difficult terminology when it comes to understanding. I mean, one learner spoke about how she had to pull out a dictionary just to understand what this document speaks about. What are these considerations that need to be made? As you say, you're hoping that the considerations and the voices of the children will be put forward and then incorporated into this draft.
There were 3 options when we interacted with the steering committee, there was an option 1, which was around developing indicators that would address children's issues within the current NSP. Second option, a pillar 7, which the children want, and as from the children's sector, we also advocate for it. And then the third one is a separate NSP, which means it's a new NSP that would talk to children. And we know that with the problem of violence against children, the option 3 wouldn't really be viable at all. Hence, we advocate for the option 2 that talks to this pillar 7. And children are very vocal about it from all these 6 provinces that we have consulted.
But what are the considerations that will need to be made to incorporate it? Because, you know, a lot of times we see government going out on these drives, asking for different opinions and participation. And then when one looks at the final draft, the considerations have been completely ignored.
Mpho, we actually want to see that the pillar 7 is considered and being in the reviewed NSP that should be in place and introduced. For now, we will continue with the advocacy and ensuring that children's voices are heard and listened to and implemented effectively.
What are the challenges that you could face in incorporating pillar 7?
I don't think that there might be some resistances because, I mean, when we speak about children from the constitutional point of view and even from the Children's Act, as well as the international instruments that we have ratified with, child participation, it's one of the principles that we must be observing as the country and adhere to. So it would really be a serious indictment to the state if we are not considering the children's voices and have this a pillar 7 that the children want to have in the current NSP.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion. Neliswa Cekiso, Director of Child Protection at the Social Development Department.